Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. You guessed it, today we are once again working on the 325 IS. So as you can see, the car is much more put together at this point. It looks a lot more like a car. After I got it running, as you guys saw, it was a great, awesome moment. I just took a break because up until that point of getting the car running, I was out every single day trying to figure out why it wasn't starting. So I stopped working on it for like 2 days. I came back out on Friday, a couple days ago, put the front clip on the car. As you can see, I really did try my best here. I got this clip as good as I think that it can get. So the nose panel lines up perfect. The corner lights and the headlights fit pretty good together. So it doesn't look all janky from the front, which is something I was going for. So it definitely took a while to get this front clip on, especially because I put the whole thing together without actually putting these like hood latch pieces in. And you can't necessarily just pop those in after it's all said and done. So the nose panel came back off, put it back in, no big deal. So as far as the engine bay goes, not a lot has changed since you guys saw this last. I went ahead and put the Z3M radiator in. I actually put a poll up on Instagram and a ton of people voted. I think I had over 120 votes, and the options were like CSF, Koyo, Mishimoto, and Z3M. Z3M actually came in last place for like the best radiator upgrade. But after doing some research and kind of what I want to do with the car, I have some confidence that this should hold up. It's not a full aluminum radiator, but that's actually good for the longevity of this. With the plastic here, it actually allows it to expand a little bit, and the aluminum just doesn't expand. So that was kind of the benefit, the pros that I took away from getting the Z3M. It's also 250 bucks as opposed to pretty much anything else on the list, which was I think a good, $100 more. And then I put like the little fuel rail cover back on. I do not have an M52 cover, so if anybody has one of those, reach out to me. I would love to purchase it from you. I'll even trade. I have like 2 M50 covers, but I do not have an M52 cover. All right, now let me just say, the final 10% is kicking my ass, like 100%. A lot of people told me that the final 10% would take the longest amount of time, and I didn't really know what to expect, but now that we're here with this final 10%, I am losing my mind a little bit. So the cars, I would argue this is at its 90% right here. It's almost done, like it's almost put together, it's almost ready to move under its own power. But there's like a bunch of little things that are holding me back from doing that. For instance, yesterday I dropped the radiator in and I was gonna go put the fan shroud on and put the expansion tank on, realized I had never purchased a coolant level sensor. And while I could put the old one in that I know for a fact does not work, it just doesn't make sense to do that. I'd rather just wait and have everything perfect instead of fucking it up the first time and having it go back. So I'm this close. I'm just not gonna cut any quarters. Another thing, like I have the grommet for the radiator on this side, and I do not have it on this side. It's a little loose. I like stuffed some electrical tape in here to kind of, I don't know, simulate like one of those rubber grommets, but I was like, fuck it, I just need to order one instead of doing some MacGyver bullshit to hold this thing together, when in all actuality, the clutch fan could just easily blow the shroud up and then we have a major explosion inside of the engine bay because I was dumb and in by a fucking 30-cent grommet. So this video today is going to be mainly a talking video, just me doing odds and ends on the car, because there's a ton of little tiny things that I can do, but a lot of the big stuff I just can't do yet. Just need to order more parts, just need to spend a little bit more money. By a little bit, I mean a lot, so that's why I'm dreading the FCP Euro purchase, because There's just a ton of stuff on my list already, and I have to finish writing that list today so I can go ahead and order those parts. What I really don't want anybody to see is the inside of this car, because the inside is what's killing me. So as you can see, we have no driver's seat. I went ahead and took that out because I had to remove my pedals. I ordered the wrong master again. Well, I guess this is the first time I ordered the wrong master, but I had a pedal box with the master and the nipple on the master was broken. Ordered a new master. It was actually the different style, so the bolts weren't long enough to go through. So I went ahead and I had to take all that apart and just reverse all my hard work. I think I mentioned that before, but now I just took the pedal assembly completely back out of the car. I will just build it when I order the fucking right master, and I'm, you know, I verify my part number before I order it. That is just dumb on my part. I totally accept that. Anyways, that's why none of this can be put back together, and I can't bleed it or anything. The big final three things that I need to do are the cooling system, bleed the clutch, and put the drive shaft in, and then I guess I'll put the 391 in as well. And I can do that without doing that drive shaft or anything. So it's just whatever I don't feel too lazy to do today, I will be doing. Alright, so the first thing that I am going to tackle today would be the drive shaft. So when you're manual swapping, you do need to switch the drive shaft as well, because the transmissions are different lengths. The Getrag, the manual transmission, is much shorter than the automatic transmission. So you do actually need a different drive shaft. You can get it from, I think it's just, you just get it from a manual non-ZF car. So, I mean, they're relatively easy to find, but they're kind of expensive because people tax them. Luckily, I got this one for around 150 bucks, I think it was. I'd have to go back and check, but somewhere around there. So this is the side that goes towards the transmission. Your 𝙤𝙬 stuffs in between that side of the drive shaft and the transmission. And then your center support bearing, when these two are mated, is right here. So what I'm going to do today is pull the center support bearing off. Now, when you think about it, and in theory this is fucking easy, the hard reality is that this sucks most of the time. When I did this on my M3, I think I spent a collective of like 3 hours just trying to get the center support bearing off. Even with jaw pullers, I could not get it off. So I took it to a fabrication shop, and they actually just were able to remove it, and they pressed a new one on. So I put a bunch of time into doing the last one, but I didn't actually complete it. I'm going to try and be a little bit better at it this time. I don't know. It's my second time doing it, so hopefully it goes smoother. I'm gonna set the camera up on a time lapse, and we'll see how long this takes. Alright, hopefully you guys enjoyed that time lapse of me not realizing that there was a snap ring on the end. There's said snap ring. Fuck that thing, huh? Alright, well, I think the camera stopped recording because I was taking too long, but I got it off. So, like I said, these are never fun. At least it came off this time. So that's a fucking win in my book. And please, if you are doing this, be very careful not to mess these up. So now that I was doing this and hammering it last time, I thought it was the fab shop that fucked up the splines, but it was probably me. So splines are okay, thank God. But yeah, don't fuck those up, because I had to spend like hours filing them in order to get the other half of the drive shaft to mate up to this. So anyways, this center support bearing is out. So a combination of a hammer and a chisel, but honestly, the hammer is the mallet, I should say. I think I'm due for a new one, but anyways, it's out. Go ahead and throw my new center support bearing on. And these have like a specific orientation, so you can see like the rubber goes one way, so I need to look that up before I put that on, because I didn't take note of that before. Another thing is, this drive shaft is actually marked, thank God. I thought I was gonna have to get it balanced, but I do not. There is a paint mark right there, and there's also like a little arrow here. You probably can't see it, but it's like a little imprinted arrow, so I'm wondering, even if this wasn't marked, that's where it's supposed to be. At least the other side's marked. But yeah, I'm gonna grease this up, and then I'll put the new one on, and then we should be able to mate these two together. Alright, so here's our old one. Granted, I probably fucked it up a ton hammering it, but that thing barely moves, like forcing it, it barely moves. So yeah, I'm sure I messed it up a little bit. In comparison to the new one here, this is a male, so hopefully Mel, I don't know how you say it. Hopefully it doesn't fail because these aren't super fun to do. As you can see, so much better. That's a real bearing that does real bearing things. It's actually spinning around as opposed to the other one. Now, that one was seized already. That's why I am changing this. But it's just good practice to do. If you have the drive shaft out, you might as well do it. When you go to put this back on, you can see the little side that protrudes out. You want that facing out. So that end over there is the back of the car, the differential. You want this, the protruding side facing the front of the car. If that makes sense. So you would go ahead, you would put it on something like that. Alright, so as you can see, we got this center support bearing on, and you'll notice I did not reinstall the dust covers only because they're disgusting and crusty and pretty butchered. And realistically, I could give two fucks. I'm sorry. I did the same thing with my M3, and I've put, I don't know, a couple thousand miles on it since I did that drive shaft, or the center support bearing, and I've had no issues. Does the dust cover prolong the longevity of the center support bearing? Maybe. I'm sure it does, but I don't care. Greasing it will definitely help get that thing on there. Take a chisel and just go around and be careful. I don't know. But as you can see, this thing is on there and it spins real good. Like really good. Like brand new. So I'm gonna go ahead and mate these two sides together and we should have a complete drive shaft. Alright, so here's actually a proper look at the differences between the drive shafts. As you can see, the rear halves are actually the same. The only difference is the front. So when people are looking for these drive shafts, they're only looking for this guy right here. So you can see the different distances. There's probably a good 6 inches where the manual drive shaft is necessary because you couldn't run this, just wouldn't mate up to the get drag. The get drag sits here, the auto trans sits here. So this would work for an auto trans, but you need this guy right here to meet up with the get drag. Alright, there you have it. There is our assembled drive shaft. Now if you're having trouble getting it on, you can always grease the splines. I may have tapped it a little too hard together because you're supposed to be able to adjust this clasp once it's in the car. But we'll see what happens. Alright, so I've made a decision. Hopefully you can tell by how stoked I look. I am going to do the differential. So I have a welded 391 that's going to go in this car. The craziest thing is I could just avoid all this and not do this today and enjoy my Sunday afternoon. But I'm just going to get the diff knocked out. I don't want to do it. I don't like, it's heavy and it's crusty under there, and I'm pretty sure every E36 has a sway bar, rear sway bar, but this one does. I'll probably delete the sway bar because this car's supposed to be a drifty guy, so I don't know that I'm gonna need the sway bar. Took it out of my M3 and I actually didn't really notice a difference, so I don't know. I guess I'm gonna delete the sway bar. Shit's in the way anyway, so it's gotta come out. Yeah, let's get this diff swapped out. It's pretty fucking easy in theory, on paper, but the car is almost 30 years old. There's tons of seized shit underneath of it, and the differential will be no exception. So I'm gonna go under there with some PB Blaster, and I'm gonna try and find like a space heater or something. It is so fucking cold. But yeah, I want to get the diff done because once it's done, then I can put the drive shaft in, and most of the stuff underneath the car, most of the stuff, not true. Some of the stuff underneath the car is done at that point after I do the diff. God, there's so much more work that needs to be done. But honestly, I'm looking forward to this the least, so I figured let's just knock it out now. Alright, so this is how I've got this whole thing set up. So I do have the jack on the diff as a safety and have one of the wheels underneath the car as a safety. But there are two jack stands here sitting on the trailing arms. That way it's not drooping, it's kind of sitting with load on it, and it makes it a little bit easier to get those E-torques out of the axles. So they're E10s, and I accidentally, on this side, I accidentally stripped out two of them, and they're pretty easy to round off just because they are they're the E-torques, so they're like that star shape. At least they're not Torques. I'm glad that they're E-torques, but so I'm going to show you what saved the day because this has saved me a few times. I want to put you guys on. I'm sure everybody's seen these, but I round off two of these. I'm trying to get in there with the impact. It's just not doing much. It's just spinning freely. So I whip out this kit. So these are like, I don't know, these basically save the day. So you can see they're various sizes, but they got like teeth and everything in there, and they're almost like splined on the inside. And that way you just grab one that fits closest and sink it on there best you can. So put it on the end of the bolt, right? So it's sitting in there, and with the normal E-Torx, it just wasn't catching, but these fucking things grip super good and will pretty much get anything and everything off as long as you don't completely round it off. So as soon as I started to notice that I was rounding it off, I whipped these out, put that thing on there like nothing. They pull them right out. So alright, that went a lot smoother than I expected. Only thing I almost forgot was taking that wheel speed sensor off. I believe that's what that's for. Anyways, here she is. Not too shabby for a little one-man operation. So yeah, here it is. I believe there's an LSD. I actually need to look. I came home after work. This only took 20 minutes because I had already disconnected the axles yesterday. So it was literally just, you know, the 3 bolts and then getting the sway bar out of the way, which I actually did not know this until this time around. But last time I was messing with the rear end on my M3, I pulled the whole sway bar out when I didn't have to. So you can see, God, I hate this camera. When will I get a different one? I have no idea. So as you can see, it's up there, and I just have it zip tied up, and there's just 2 bolts by the bushings, or 1 bolt by each bushing. Just remove those, move that thing up so you can get access to the bolts. The bolts are 18s. And I actually started with the longer one up front because that one is the one that tends to break. So I wanted to make sure that there was like no tension on the diff coming down before I pulled that one out, because it's long and it breaks. So I don't know. I'm sure it's fine no matter which way, which order you do it, but that's how I did it just because I know that these like to break. But yeah, diff is out. And let me find out what this is. This is the 391 from my buddy Jordan. Thank you, Jordan. This is a welded 391. He hooked it up. He delivered it to my house for like 150 bucks. So that's awesome. Thank you, Jordan. I was not really too sure what I was supposed to be looking for when I was looking at this thing. So I was looking at the numbers and everything. I think I'd have to crack it open to actually find out, but I did find a website, and it noted pretty much every E36 model and what differential came in each model. So according to that website, this will be a 391 also, but obviously the difference between these two is this one is welded, this one is not. The reason this one's going in is because this car, the application for this car should be a drift car slash, I don't know, street car. So if I hate it, you know, I can always swap it back. So I guess this is a 391 open. I don't know. I'll do some more digging later, but if you guys have any clear indication that I can use to figure out what this is without actually cracking it open, let me know. I don't have the upper body strength. Come on, fucker. Come on. Come on, hurry up, Jack, hurry up. Hurry up, Jack, look. Oh, that's gotta be healthy right there. Video probably looks like shit, but I'm gonna get it bolted in. All right, so I got that in actually rather fast. It's in there, as you can see. So the rear 2 mounts, the rear ears are 57 foot-pounds for torque, and then the front is 70 foot-pounds. The reason I'm stressing torque numbers on this is because a lot of people, myself included in the past, have just ran an impact on that, but really you should just torque it down to spec. That's how you break those axle bolts, and when they're over tightened, you know how much a diff moves in a car. Might as well just go ahead and torque it to spec. I think I'll have better luck torquing it to spec than just zapping it on with the impact. The axle bolts are a completely different story in my opinion, but yeah, for the actual diff ears and then the one that mounts in the front, 70 foot-pounds in the front, 57 in the back. Just gonna go ahead and do it. All right, so the 325 IS has its new differential installed, its new old differential. You can see the axles are attached. I'm kind of bummed that I rounded off these two because now I can't really put it back together 100%. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and order 2 more axle bolts, probably order a few, maybe 3 or 4 just in case. But I'm gonna go ahead and torque those to spec when those show up. I think I'm gonna go ahead and end the video here. If I wait for the axle bolts to show up, it'll be like next week until I get this video out. So I'd rather get you guys this video now. It, you know, wasn't a ton that we did, but managed to get the drive shaft put together with the new center support bearing and the differential in. I was going to include the actual installation of the drive shaft in this video, but if I'm being 100% honest, I'm probably not even gonna film that. I'm just gonna go ahead and put it in the car. It's fairly straightforward. I think I've recorded it in the past, so if I have done that, I'll put the video down below. If not, there's tons of videos online on how to install the drive shaft. But again, it's super straightforward. I believe there's footage of me removing the drive shaft out of this car, and it's just reverse process. Whether I film it or not, it's not gonna be in this video regardless, so stay tuned for the next one. I was pretty excited about putting the welded in, but you know, it's never a super fun job, it being a heavy part and all. So thank you guys for all the recent support. There were a few new subscribers from the last video of me actually getting this car started, so thank you very much. But with all that being said, thank you guys for liking, subscribing, sharing the video. Anything you do does help this channel grow. But yeah, with all that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.